Hey, y'all, each week on The Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, we ask big questions and share hot takes about the pop culture we love.
Now that we have YouTube, we don't need any more biopics. If they've been alive such that I can watch them on YouTube, I don't need it.
I don't think that music is getting worse. I think y'all just don't listen to artists who aren't in the mainstream.
Taylor Swift, retire. It's time to retire.
The Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube.
I wanted my sons to be proud and not look at me as the mugshot. And so I wanted the way to bury that mugshot and replace it with my face on the back of a New York Times bestseller. And I just started writing.
You're listening to Life in 7 Songs. From the San Francisco Standard, I'm your host, Sophie Behrman. Joining us on the show this week is Rahsaan New York Thomas, former co-host and co-producer of the Pulitzer Prize-nominated podcast Ear Hustle, an often funny, sometimes heartbreaking show about the reality of life inside prison, which is why New York is a former host. He got out. After spending more than 20 years incarcerated for second-degree murder, New York was granted a commutation in 2022 by California Governor Gavin Newsom for his rehabilitation behind bars. That looked like co-founding a nonprofit, writing for countless publications, and completing a marathon by running loops around the prison yard. And one quick note about this episode, it has 6 songs, not 7. Sometimes you can tell a life story in 6. Rahsaan New York Thomas, welcome to the show. And I have to ask, how did you get the nickname New York?
It's a California custom to call people by where they're from, especially when your name's Rahsaan and nobody can remember it or pronounce it correctly. And I love the name because it reminded me of home. And so I didn't complain. I just went by New York.
So do you know people named like Miami?
Of course. Mississippi, L.A., oh, yeah, of course. Texas, on and on. Most states have somebody incarcerated. I never met anybody from Idaho. Idaho is not represented in LA County Jail.
Okay, but what do you do when you meet another New York then?
Well, I debate that, right? First of all, like, where are you from in New York? What part of the city? Are you official? Because I done caught a guy from Connecticut claiming New York.
What would you call me raised on the Upper West Side?
You would be official. Manhattan counts. Okay. But like if you moved when you were 5 and nobody knows you, you from New York, but were you raised there? Can anybody vouch for you?
Fair question. Okay, so of all the accomplishments I listed in my introduction, what's been the most rewarding?
I definitely feel really proud to be part of the Ear Hustle team and to be a Pulitzer Prize finalist and to be a Peabody Award finalist twice. And to win the DuPont Award and several Webbies and Madison, a whole bunch of other awards. But I also feel like those are team wins, right? And I joined the team that had Curry and Klay Thompson on it, basically. So maybe I was Durant, maybe I wasn't. But whoever I was on that team, they was winning, losing with or without me, right? I do feel like I added something because like the magic,
something special.
I feel like the magic season was season 4 where we got the DuPont and that was my debut as a host.
We are proud to announce that New York is our new co-host for season 4.
Oh, yes.
Brooklyn's in the house. Indeed.
I am so glad to hear you celebrating him now because during the job search, you put him through hell.
Well, shit, I had to look out for our listeners.
Hey, what about me? You had to make sure I was
You too.
That's a clip from Ear Hustle, a podcast made inside California's San Quentin State Prison, which was named a finalist for a Pulitzer Prize in audio reporting, the first time that category was even recognized, for bringing audiences, quote, a consistently surprising and beautifully crafted series on life behind bars. As you mentioned, the podcast received an Alfred L. DuPont Columbia University Award as well.
Only producer now, no more host. I ain't going back to prison for y'all. So I'm really proud of that. But I think it's hard. I also directed and wrote and produced Friendly Signs, which is an amazing film, a short that I freaking love. And we did that in prison. We edited right there in the prison with Final Cut Pro. We ain't have nothing fancy, right?
What's it about?
On the surface, it's about a man whose brother is deaf. And this man named Tommy Wickard is incarcerated. When he got incarcerated, he felt like he let his brother down because he was the interpreter for his brother. And when he found out that, number one, like deaf people were being disproportionately murdered in the California prison system, he was like, I'm teaching everybody sign language. That's an act of redemption. But the subconscious things that I wanted people to take away from it too without asking them is that Tommy should be home right now. Yeah, he committed a violent crime, but that's not who he is today. And so I wanted people to think about that. Like, if somebody changed, and then even think deeper, why would they like that in the first place? And let's deal with that, right?
So let's talk about that. Where does your story start?
I don't know where I'm from. My consciousness starts in Brownsville.
What is Brownsville for people who maybe don't know?
The murder capital of New York, 21 housing projects in a mile and a half, a place where people think it's okay to pat and frisk you. It's designed to stack poverty on top of poverty. So if you need something, you can't ask your neighbor for it because they ain't got it either. My family was me and my brother and my mom.
Is there a song that comes to mind when you think about your childhood, especially your younger years growing up?
Yeah, when I think of the happy moments, I think of hip-hop. When hip-hop was just fun, it wasn't drill, it wasn't kill. It was just, good-natured. And so I think about Rapper's Delight, the very first hip-hop album I ever had. That record came out in this sweet spot in Brownsville where we left the doors open all day and it was safe. I never felt any danger, never worried about anything.
And that's Rapper's Delight by the Sugarhill Gang.
Yeah, I still remember it. The hip hop, you don't stop rocking to the bang bang, up jump boogie to the I'm messing it up beat.
Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello.
What do you think when you hear it?
Just memories, happy times, Coco Livio, ride my bike. I was blessed to live in a apartment complex that had two buildings, one on the top of the hill and one on the bottom. And the pathways in between were cement. It's called Atlantic Towers. And you can ride from the top of the hill and you can just take your feet off the pedals and the hill, the momentum from the hill, would carry you down all the way around two hills and then almost bring you back up the bottom of the next hill. It was so much momentum, and it's just fun to ride down those hills, those cement pathways. Then them 80s hit, and that crack cocaine hit, and it just was different.
What were you like?
Tall, skinny, wonderful curly hair, incredibly handsome, a little awkward. I was into computer games. I had a Commodore 64. And there were periods when, I didn't come out a lot because just too much drama. I was like a square kid being picked on a lot and not knowing really how to deal with it, not understanding why. And instead of trying to, diffuse it, I'm trying to prove myself by feeding into it.
Your father, tell me about him.
Don't know about him. I met him 2-3 times. Don't even remember what age. Next thing you know, he's dead.
Did you have a vision of him when you were younger as someone you might meet one day, or?
Just fantasy stuff. My mother, she was a college graduate who worked really hard because the college degree didn't mean much. It was in sociology and the money dried up. And so she ended up in corrections, ironically. I felt like my mom was working 2 jobs or working double shifts, literally extra at least 34 hours a week, so 70-something hours a week. And I felt like we were a burden to her. Like we were heavy, like she had to carry us along. I thought that my pops would one day come back and save the day, but I didn't even know where he was, so.
Tell me about the moment that you found out that he had died.
My grandma called and she said he was dead. He was found behind a bar with his wallet missing and his throat cut. I just hung up the phone. I was just numb because he was always dead to me. But what also died that day was my hope that he would ever come back and save the day. And also, I looked at robbery from that point on as something different. Before, it just looked like, you're trying to take my money and I'm going to fight for it. But now I looked at it as life and death. So I started walking around with knives and just being more hyper-vigilant.
How old were you?
Like 15.
Is there a song that comes to mind for that, your early teens when everything kind of changed? Yeah,
Mobb Deep, Survival of the Fittest. Only the strong survive. It's just about like, if it captured the emotion I felt, like how I mean, at that time I thought I had to be violent to survive, to make it.
There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. You could run, but you can't hide forever from these streets that we done took. You walking with your head down, scared to look. You shook, cause ain't no such things as halfway crooks. They never around when the beef cooks in my part of town. It's similar to Vietnam. It's a pretty big change from the first song.
Crack. It's just different. Little arguments, little things that we fought about can get you killed now.
Tell me a little bit more about your high school years.
Sheesh, I went to 4 different high schools, and for the same reasons, each high school was a safety transfer, meaning that the biggest, baddest bully would try to do something to me, and I would stab them. And my principal would be on my side because, like, yo, they bullies. Like, one dude robbed my principal before, so he's like, yo, F that dude. But these dudes had juice. In other words, they had, like, an army. Like, they can call people, and next thing you know, 70 people in front of school trying to get me. And I didn't have that. All I was my little cousin, and he looks kind of tough, but he's soft. He's a good dude, but his answer to bullying was to work out. Mm-hmm. And so he got really strong looking, but he can't see without his glasses. So if he has to fight, he has to take off his glasses. Then the strength is useless, right? But he looks the part. He looks intimidating. And then he's a sweetheart. So if you don't know no better, he scares you. But if it comes down to it, I'm on my own. He tried, though. I got to give it to him. But to make a long story short, I didn't have that kind of juice. And so whenever something like that happened, I would go to a school in a different part of the city until that merry-go-round got me to my 4th high school in Detroit, Michigan.
Why do you think you were bullied?
I look white, and I live in a black neighborhood, and so they tried to take out 400 years of oppression out on me. And the crazy thing is I'm half black and half Puerto Rican. I'm not even white that I know of. And if I am, it's because something happened in slavery that ain't cool, so I should deserve more reparations instead of more persecution. So it was that kind of thing. I stood out in this neighborhood not just for being light, but being extra intelligent, doing good in school. My mother was upper class poor, so we lived in Brownsville, but like we had food in the refrigerator. Mm-hmm. That's like an advantage, right? I had a bike, I had Nikes, and that made me a target.
What happens next then? Where does life lead you?
I was doing really good. I had a job at Debevoise & Plimpton, which is a top law firm. And I only had a job like as a clerk, a mailroom clerk, but like I advanced really quickly. I was in the communications department, and the pay was really good. Mm. And so I would try to get an apartment to get out of Brownsville and move out the projects. And I was going to take my little cousins and my brother with me. But when I tried to get an apartment, they wouldn't give me one. When I tried to get credit, and I didn't know at the time it was my zip code. When you put that 11212 on the application, you denied. Doesn't matter how much you make, where your heart is. They're not even giving me a chance. But in the meantime, this neighborhood is nuts. Like, people are trying to rob me coming home from work. And then, I took robbery personal. I took it like you're trying to take my ego, my self-esteem, so I would be armed.
Your life.
My life, too. So I took it to that level. And so I would carry this gun. And just carrying that gun around, it led to me shooting someone over something stupid. What you looking at? They mess with a dude that's traumatized, that's seen his brother shot in front of him, that had his father murdered, right? And so I really shot him.
But to be clear, he survived and you received a felony.
Yeah, I went to jail for like only 3 years or whatever, 2 years. But I was with amazing women, super strong. And she would come see me all the time. I don't even know how. She like worked. She was in college. She got good grades. She had a son. And one day we were on a visit, and I noticed that she was telling me I could eat what I want, but she wasn't eating. And these visits are like 6 hours long. It's a 2-hour trip there, probably 2-3 hour trip back. And so like, when are you gonna eat? Like, And I realized she didn't have enough money to feed both of us. And I felt like the biggest loser in the world, like the biggest burden. At the time, I just felt like, I can't put her through this. I can't have her starving over me. And to get the courage to break up with her, I would play that song by Tresvant, Do What I Gotta Do and Break Her Heart.
So what am I gonna do? I guess I'll do what I gotta do and break her heart. Though I love the girl, I know that the best thing is for us to be apart.
And I did it, dumbest thing in the world, but I did it. I served like a couple of years and came back on work release. And I'm 20-something now, but once I got that felony, the career path was done. Like, college didn't make sense to me at the time because that's going in debt. And then looking at my mom, like, you went to school, you graduated. I was at your graduation. You work for corrections. You get to do that with a high school diploma. Like, what do you do? Like, what I figure out? And I had 2 kids.
2 kids with a different woman than the one we've been talking about. Tell me about becoming a father and their mother.
Me and her didn't work out. I got locked up, and that was too hard on her. But still, like, I was there for my kids regardless, like, no matter what. I love them to death. At the time, I thought that the most important thing I can do for them is make money. And if I couldn't make money and get them into a safe environment, then what kind of father would I be? I would be like my deadbeat father. And that's how I got into selling drugs. My plan was make enough money and quit, right? That was my plan. Go start a business, open a barbershop. I learned how to cut hair on Rikers Island, ironically, but I learned to cut hair. I'm pretty decent at it. But just I couldn't figure out how to transition in regular life. I didn't figure it out. And I started being really good at selling drugs, even though I hated it. I hate it. It's the grimiest. It's the hardest. It's fast money, but it's hard work. It's super dangerous. But it was the only thing I ever made, a type of money I felt like I could move my kids out of the neighborhood and I make sure they had what they wanted. I can get the barbershop, you know? And so I would make a certain amount of money and quit. But when things didn't work out, I would go right back to it.
It's time for a quick break. When we come back, New York shares how he found his voice within the California state prison system. Stay with us. Hey everyone, I want to recommend a podcast. Hard Knocks is a show about resilience, self-discovery, and finding meaning after chaos, hosted by Amanda Knox. Each week, Amanda sits down with fascinating guests, writers, thinkers, artists, to explore how we learn, grow, and rebuild ourselves after life knocks us down. Amanda brings humor, honesty, and hard-earned perspective to every conversation, drawing on her own experience of being wrongfully convicted and rebuilding her life. Amanda was a guest on Life in 7 Songs in one of our most moving episodes, opening up about how music became a lifeline during her years of wrongful imprisonment. On our show, she spoke candidly about turning pain into wisdom and also about how we're all so much more than our worst moments. If you liked that episode, you'll love her show, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Jesse Alejandro Cottrell.
And I'm Emily Dreyfus, and this is Pacific Standard Time.
We have stories from all over the state of California, all the big battles that are happening here.
Prop 50,
housing affordability,
tech,
and immigration.
And we're really excited to bring you the stories about how California is dealing with what it means to be alive in 2025.
Subscribe to Pacific Standard Time, a new weekly show from the San Francisco Standard.
We'll have new episodes every Wednesday starting November 19th, wherever you get your podcasts.
So, New York, how did you end up in California?
No good reason. Came to California to get away from the police in New York.
Basically on the run?
Not basically, I was on the run.
I mean, your life really changed when you got to California.
I did a lot of bad decisions. First of all, lack of money management. I had like a Mercedes, Acura, equivalent La Jolla, and I can't work. So these are not good decisions for a guy on the run. I lived beyond my means. And that led to trouble, led to me being involved in a marijuana deal. And I went there with a loaded gun and an attitude that they got to give me my money or it's going to be a problem. And they came with guns and no money, and it was a problem. I just made the horrible decision to defend a bag of marijuana, and to take a human life over a bag of marijuana. And that's something that even the law in my heart can't justify.
And then you entered the California jail and then prison system.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were also a father now, incarcerated across the country from your children. What promises did you make to yourself about being a father, make to them?
I read somewhere that a child that doesn't know he's loved ends up having emotional and psychological issues. And so I can't be there for him, but I'm going to let him know I love him. And so every birthday, every Christmas, I would send a card with like $50, $25, something, just to let him know I didn't forget you. I want to be there. I would just write, whether they wrote me back or not. I would just write and just call when I can. I heard that song by Arie, Good Man, and I just sent the lyrics to the song to my son's mother, tell her to play that song for him and let him know that I failed him, but like I had great intentions, that I'm a good man.
You told me if the sun comes up and I'm not home, be strong. If I'm not beside you, do your best to carry on. Tell the kids about me when they're old enough
How old were you when you went to prison in California, and how old were they?
I was 29 and they were like 6 and 4.5.
Is there a time when you were incarcerated that you started to find yourself changing?
I definitely was tired of violence. I wanted to change. And I felt like if it's always self-defense, if I'm always in the right, why am I committing this much violence? Like what normal person commits this much violence? And so that started my journey. And I don't even know this dude. He just walked up to me one day and said, yo, brother, there's nobody you gonna beat up or kill that's gonna get you out. In fact, that's gonna make it worse. And I don't know why, but those words, sometimes people say things and you don't hear them. But for some reason, it hit me. It made me realize that all my life, I've been getting really angry. But my anger was destroying me. And I would start going to Muslim services. I was going to all services, really, like Christian services, Buddhist services, just trying to find, like, why? Mm-hmm. What's the point of life? What's the point of all this? I wanted my sons to be proud and not look at me as the mugshot. And so I wanted the way to bury that mugshot and replace it with my face on the back of a New York Times bestseller. And I just started writing.
Why do you think you turned to writing?
Writing became an act of self-defense and survival, and the only thing I had, because when you're in prison, you lose 90% of your rights. But the one that you still have, your voice is still free. And writing is all you have when the phone calls are $25 each. It's the only form of communication you really have. And so I wrote like with paper and pen, with like a typewriter, with each ribbon costing like fucking $6-7 and only 25 pages. And I came up with this 250,000 word manuscript that took me like 10 years to write and landed at San Quentin finally after 13 years incarcerated altogether. And they have everything. They have creative writing. They have a college program, a poetry class, a journalism guild, a newspaper, an audio program. I joined everything. And that's when I found out my book was trash. It was horrible. A book's supposed to be 80,000 words. I was 170,000 words too long. My descriptions were generic. I described people by their height and their complexion, nothing about their personality, nothing unique. But I also learned how to write and learned that I could write, that innate ability that just needed to be nurtured. So it became my sword in a good way.
What was your toughest time while incarcerated?
It was definitely during COVID because I got hit from so many angles. First of all, my family's from New York, and all I kept hearing about was the death rate in New York. And I kept calling home, and cousins on my father's side, my stepfather, kept dying. And I'm like, that's close to home. Like, sheesh, I think they lost 7. And then San Quentin gets locked down, and so now COVID's coming at me, and I got it, and it laid me down for 10 days. And George Floyd got murdered. And when I saw that, it was just a combination of depressing circumstances. And then the other part about it was I thought that I proved myself to society, that I'm a good dude. And you're a writer now. You got a college degree now. You like all this new stuff, right? And they still talk about your violence from 20-something years ago and take your chances with death. It just showed me the system didn't care.
Are you turning to any music in this moment?
One of the songs I would listen to is The Dream. He had a song called Black. And the lyrics go something like feeling real black right now. And I'm understanding the connection of seeing George Floyd murdered like he was worthless, making other young black youth feel worthless and not value black life. And feeling like nobody's listening to me, all right? And nobody cares because it's happening to somebody that's a different race and had me feeling real black.
'Cause everywhere there's a Chicago. A man with no message. I feel real black right now. Real black right now.
That's how I was feeling. Like my life didn't matter. Like you would just deliver a virus here and then let me take my chances with it, right? Like you wouldn't have the decency to clear us out. It was cold. So that was my song. I would use that to help me, motivate me to run the extra laps, run a little faster. I'll play it on repeat.
You even ran a marathon a little bit before that, right?
I wasn't running that much, but yeah. So I don't train very well. I kind of show up and slug it through. That's why I'm the slowest dude in the world.
But hey, if you get it done.
I get it done. 2 marathons under my belt. Each one slower than the last, but I finished. I'm a finisher. Determination.
Going back to your father, you got some news about him 2017, around then, from your brother.
Yeah, I grew up under a myth. I was told my father was murdered in a robbery, and That's when around the time I started carrying knives and looking at robbery as life or death. But I found out he never got murdered. My brother tracked me down and told me, like, why you keep writing these stories about our father getting murdered? Our father didn't get murdered. He committed suicide. I'm like, nah, no way. Grandma told me he got murdered. Bobby, he sent me a copy of the suicide letter. And that's like, it devastated me. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, all this violence started because of a lie.
You constructed this whole persona after that happened at 15, and it's just poof, not even real.
Not even real. Back then, I looked at every robbery as life or death. Every single robbery as life or death. And I had the attitude that you got to kill me for mine anyway. I'm not letting you take my self-esteem. And so all of that happened based on a lie.
Tell me about returning home to New York.
For me, it was a process that started in 2018 and was finally victorious in 2023. I think the highlight is when I came back from the New York City Marathon November 5th, I had made a pact with Claire. Claire Gilbert was a volunteer at San Quentin for the Journalism Guild. And so we talked about running the New York City Marathon and San Francisco Marathon together. And when I got out, I looked up on social media and told her to start training.
You wanted to keep that promise.
No, I was just kidding. But once I said that, she took me serious. She's like, yo.
Maybe she had been running.
She said, I ran 6 marathons already. This will be my 7th. I am training. I'm like, oh, damn.
She's like, you need to start training.
I need to start training. She sent me training plans. Like, oh, my God, what did I just do? I said, all right, if we're going to do this, I ain't just running around in circles. I ain't in prison no more, right? We're going to do this as a fundraiser for Empowerment Avenue. So let's do it like that.
Empowerment Avenue is, of course, the nonprofit you started to empower incarcerated writers and artists. But yeah, so you're returning to New York to run the New York City Marathon. There's pretty much nothing bigger than that. Are you listening to anything?
Of course. You already know. Alicia Keys. Let's hear it for New York. She didn't even know she was talking about me when she made it, huh? You know what I mean? She thinks she's talking about the city.
That song speaks to you, huh?
That definitely speaks to me. It's an amazing song. I was going to see my family, my sons, my mom.
What was it like to see your family? Walk me through that moment.
First of all, I had embarrassed my mom. My mom was like a 3-star chief on Rikers Island, and her son was Daily News Most Wanted. And so I publicly embarrassed her. Now I'm publicly somebody she's proud of, right? And so to see like the change, it feels really good.
What about your kids?
Super proud. They rocking with me. And in fact, I got a chance to like take my son and my daughter-in-law and my 3 grandkids and my brother and my nephew to a Brooklyn Nets game. I bought really good seats, and the CFO's a friend of mine. And so he found out I bought these seats, and he hooked me up. He let me go to the court side while they were practicing, and he took me to the VIP lounge so we can get food. And I got this treatment in front of my son, and like it's like a dream. Like to take my son to a game was just a dream come true as a father. And to have the next generation with me, my grandkids, I felt amazing. And to see the Brooklyn Nets throw their arms open wide for me like that in front of my family, like I'm really somebody special and I'm just this regular dude, right? But my grandkids will never know it. Don't tell them, right? They think I'm something special now.
So whether it's running a marathon, surviving a prison sentence, trauma from childhood, what's your advice for someone who may be struggling to keep going?
There's no easy answer. It's going to be hard. Everything's not going to change tomorrow. It took decades for things to go right. And so you need faith. You need faith that all of this is going to mean something if you stay strong, right? The other 2 pieces of advice is, too, when you change your attitude towards what you're going through, it gets easier. Like when you work out, you feel pain, but it's making you stronger. So understand that it has a purpose. And the third advice is the advice that got me through COVID, that really brought me here now because the COVID was rough. Now I was sitting in that cell, and then I realized, wait a minute, I'm locked down all day in this cell, and I love to write, and I love to read. This is not a punishment. This is an opportunity, right? So this same circumstance that I looked at just the day before as horrible, I'm stuck in the cell 23 hours a day. You know, you might get out for a shower, go get your tray. They do yard every other day. If you don't got yard today, you really ain't going nowhere. You stuck. Program shut down. This is like torture, right? And then I might die. Well, guess what? No journalist can come into prison right now. The only way they're going to get this scoop is through me. And so one of my first major pieces, I hit Business Insider, right? off the top, my first major piece. And they paid decent. All this pain became purpose. And so now that's how I try to get through life. I look at when something bad happened to me, I vent because I'm human. I'm like, this is some bullshit. I complain, that's dumb. But then I'm like, wait, what's the purpose in this? And because I have that attitude that struggle and pain equals purpose, I can endure it a lot easier, even though there's still gonna be some bullshit tomorrow. But I know one thing that'll make your life 10 times easier is just look at everything you're going through as having a purpose and try to find a way to turn it into positive energy. And that'll help you get through the lean years and it'll make you through the great years.
Rahsaan New York Thomas, thank you so much for telling us about your journey.
You are welcome.
Life in 7 Songs is a production from the San Francisco Standard. This episode was produced by me, Sophie Behrman, and our senior producer, Jasmine Morris. Our executive producers are Griffin Gaffney and John Steinberg. Nate Toby is our creative consultant. This episode was mixed by Cold August Productions. Booking help from Megan Mitchell. Our theme music is by Kate Davis and Zubin Hensler, and Clark Miller created our show art. Our music consultant is Sarah Tembekshian. You can find this guest's full playlist at sf.news/Spotify. I'm Sophie Behrman. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.